You know, ever since Pokemon got ported to the Switch, they've kind of been falling off recently. Pokemon Sword and Shield is littered with controversy after controversy after controversy. And even if you look aside those things, the game is just boring. I mean, for a first Pokemon game, it's not bad, but as a longtime fan, I just wish that they did more. For the Pokemon Company's first real outing on the Switch, for some reason people don't count the Let's Go games, which is probably the best version of the first region we got in years. It's not a bad game, guys. It's probably a C rank at best. I have to check whenever I replay that game one day. Point I'm trying to say is, Sword and Shield was not what everyone expected. This was 3DS level qualities of gameplay, and that sucks considering how much they went out in a bang on the 3DS era. However, Pokemon Legends Arceus appeared out of nowhere, and while there were some problems here and there, mainly with the graphics and a couple of collision glitches, the game was just fun. Don't get me wrong, it was riddled with problems, but even I gave it a B rank. People were starting to get hopeful with this brand new era of Pokemon. If Pokemon Legends Arceus managed to bring life back into the franchise, and it's just a spin-off game to a potential spin-off series, then what could the main lines do? Well, there's only one way to find out. I'm Miss Gaz Cat, and today we're going to be reviewing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Will this be the redemption that Game Freak has been looking for this entire time? Or is it just another game destined to fail? Members of Team Shadow, video game enthusiasts, both old and new alike, you want to see if this game is worth your collection or not? Let's get started. The story of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is actually split up into 4 different stories, so for the sake of this review, I'm going to give you a nutshell of what these stories are, rank them, then combine them all together. But before the path split, the story goes as follows. One day after getting accepted to the Gaim Origa Academy, depending on what version you picked, you hear mysterious moanings coming from the beach. And thank God this is a kid game because it's a legendary Pokemon. Since I picked Pokemon Violet, I'm going to get Miraidon, but if you picked Pokemon Scarlet, you have gotten Koraidon. There's also slightly more differences in the story depending on what version you play, but it's relatively the same game. After following this legendary Pokemon because you have never seen something like this before, you find a bunch of Houndours and Houndours about to attack you. Koraidon and Miraidon, again depending on which version you pick, saves your life before transferring back into a weird, weaker mode. Anyways, you encounter Averin, the demon from hell, and you go to the academy where you learn about terrestrialization. After a while, the treasure hunt begins, and this is where the game is split into many different paths. Starting off with Victory Road! There's not really much story in Victory Road, it's just standard Pokemon League affair. Just go to the gym, complete a task, fight the gym leader, fight your rival every now and then, go to the Pokemon League, pass the test, which I actually liked in this game, beat the Elite Four, beat the champion, and boom, you're a champion rank trainer. I do have to admit that although I don't remember all of the gym leaders' name, most of them have some pretty fun characters. Like, I really like encountering the Water type and Ghost type gym leaders. But in terms of story, the only thing that's gonna fuel this story has to be the fight with the demon from hell, Pneumonia. So, I'm gonna give it a C rank. I'm being generous here. Speaking of being generous,
Number 2! Starfall Street!
oh my swells, this team is more wasted than Team Yell! The evil team in this region is another group of people who are not really an evil organization, but instead just a couple of thugs doing whatever they want. We've had this kind of team since Team Skull, who did it right because they were the first one. Team Yell, which was funny, I guess. But Team Star just felt completely wasted, which sucks because they have one of the best team stories in recent years. So you meet up with this person named Cassiopeia who is hacked into your phone, and they task you to go around and fight the Team Star bosses. There were 5 of them in total. A Fire type 1, a Dark type 1, a Fighting type 1, a Fairy type 1, and a Dawn Brother, who is the Poison type 1. Each time you defeat them, you get a backstory of how the team was formed and why they do what they do in the first place. And near the end of this story, you find out that Cassiopeia is actually a trainer named Penny, who is the leader of Team Star with the most fluffiest backpack I've ever seen in my entire life. After defeating her, Team Star was about to be disbanded, but in the end, Seville decides to reform them into something a little bit more different, as a way to repent for all the trouble they've been making. Overall, gameplay-wise it sucks, but we'll get into that later. But story-wise, I was almost brought to tears. I would have to give this one a B rank. Speaking of brought to tears,
Number 3! Path of Legends!
Legend was clearly the most interesting of the story and the one that the Pokemon Company had their main focus on. You team up with Averin as you go around to find these things called Titan Pokemon. You have to fight them to get Herb Mystica so you can heal up. Good boy! The more you progress in the story, the more you slowly learn about Averin and his past and his connection with Miraidon. As you slowly and surely heal up Good Boy, you get the final Herb Mystica and the doggo lives! Yes! Afterwards, you go inside the very first area where you met Miraidon and Averin and find that the professor wants to meet you in Area 0. This story I was extremely invested in, despite the fact that they clearly took pages from Yokai Watch Busters, which we'll get into in the gameplay section. But it's clearly the best story so far, which is why I want to give this one an A rank. That being said, the story is not over yet. Once you finish all 3 paths, one more quest opens up.
Alright, home!
This is where everything is supposed to come together, but in my opinion, it's just a continuation from a Path of Legends. You go inside the mysterious Area 0, find out that the professor is actually a robot, learn about the mysterious Paradox Pokemon, and shut down his time machine. Not gonna lie, I was legitimately surprised to learn that the professor was a robot, and he's evil. The AI doesn't want to shut down the machine, the professor does. The way they revealed it was legitimately unsettling, and seeing the AI lose its will, its control of itself over the Paradise Protection Protocol legit creeped me the hell out. It was kind of sad to see the professor go, but he had to find a way to stop the time machine. So he sends us out to the future, and the story ends with us walking home. The way they pulled everything together, it was kind of sloppy, but I liked the story that they were going with. They took some risks with these stories, and I'm all for it. Now, in the next game, if they could do this properly, we have ourselves a perfect Pokemon game right here. But overall, I would rate A Way Home, no joke, an A rank. And with all these ranks together, I give this total story of Pokemon Scarlet Violet as a whole a B rank. The only thing that weighs this story down a bit is the fact that Victory Road and Operation Starfall feel like completely separate stories that was just added on to the last minute, because Path of Legends clearly had a lot of focus onto it, even to the final moments of the game. The most the other 2 trainers do is bring up some light and fight some Pokemon, but other than that, we don't see Team Star joining us at all unless you count Penny. We don't see the champion get worried about Area 0 despite the fact that she has a Pokemon that comes from that area, and a Paradox Pokemon has supposedly ran away from Area 0. the Dolphin. We only see a major impact in Averin's story, the Path of Legends. But overall, this story was very entertaining, and all 3 of them, they do their part fine. But if Game Freak can manage to pull it off next time, oh boy, then it's gonna be a great Pokemon game. Graphics are up next, and what the hell is going on here? Sword and Shield, I can look past. Actually, no, I can look through. That one was clearly a cash grab to hype up the fact that it's the very first Pokemon game, and they clearly had some setbacks with the goals in that game, cause, you know, Pokédex removal. Still not happy about that, by the way. Legends Arceus is the same thing again, but the game looks beautiful at night. But like I mentioned in that review, it has some errors and glitches with dark environments. But areas like the Hall of Ocean look legitimately amazing. Finally seeing this thing, like, beyond the staircases from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, legitimately gave me the creeps the first time I played through it. Scarlet Violet though, what the hell is your excuse? Again, it looks great at night, but in the daytime it looks like something from the Nintendo 64! The most prettiest area of the game is the time machine. The colors that they use in both versions, which is white, yellow, scarlet, violet, and then a nice cool black, legitimately makes me wish that the whole game looked as pretty as that time machine room. To give them credit, I guess the terror rates also extend to that, but when we get a shot of Area 0, I just wish that the graphics looked Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Persona 5. I just wish the game's graphics look good. Is it passable? Hardly. It's hardly passable. And if this is the art style that Pokemon's gonna go for, someone hire a new art director. I'm going to begrudgingly give this game's graphics a C-rank. The only thing that saves it is the terror raids and the time machine at the end. But other than that, fix your damn graphics, Game Freak. Next up is the bread and butter of all video games, the gameplay! The controls are your standard Pokemon experience. If you played an RPG before, then you should be right at home. But for the first time ever, and I can't believe I'm saying this, you have full camera control wherever you go. I mean, except in small areas, that's acceptable, but outside, where you'll be 90% of the game, 360 camera controls wherever you want. I mean, granted, Pokemon Legends Arceus did the same thing as well. The fact that this isn't a mainline game is honestly impressive. And a bit sad at the same time when you really think about it. Pokemon were clearly testing out the camera controls in the wild areas because they had fixed camera angles in between the routes in Sword and Shield. They experimented a bit more with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and now it's been somewhat realized in Scarlet and Violet. But there's just one problem. This area is too freaking big! If only I could be a Kamen Rider and ride a bike! I love this feature. I honestly love this feature. I love the fact that you can ride on Koraidon and Miraidon. When the game was first revealed, people noticed that they kind of look a bit like bikes, and I'm so glad that they are literally bikes! My preferred way of riding would have to be Miraidon since it's literally a bike. Koraidon makes me think that Pouch is a little bit useless except for intimidation tactics, but they control basically the same. Throughout the game, you get upgrades through Miraidon in the Path of Legends, and they are as follows: Speed Boost, High Jump, Glide, Climb, and the ability to swim. When you first get Koraidon and Miraidon, the way you explore the area is very, very limited. But once you have all those upgrades inside your arsenal, there is literally no place you cannot go. No place that's out of bounds! Except in Area 0 until near the end of the game, but after that, there's nowhere that can stop you! While it's very fun to ride on these Pokemon, there's also a double-edged sword when it comes to encountering wild Pokemon. While I love the fact that they took the approach of Pokemon Legends Arceus and have Pokemon scout throughout the map, there's also a big problem when it comes to encountering them. I cannot tell you how many times I was just loving riding, setting up my destination, going to a terror raid, we'll talk about that later, and boom! I ran into a random Pokemon. Now, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, the same thing would happen, but the way to initiate a battle is you have to throw a Pokeball at it. This one, you run into it, boom, battle, no matter what. But believe it or not, there are actually two ways of battling Pokemon. The first one, though, is awesome! The first Pokemon in your party, you can send down immediately, and it will knock down a Pokemon in one hit. This is awesome! I mean, it's not totally awesome, but it's nice to have level grind and battle a bunch of Pokemon without having to constantly go into a bunch of Pokemon battles. Anyone know what's the best part about this? You don't have to worry about shinies because it will not kill a shiny. Thank you so much, Game Freak. And speaking of battles, let me talk about this year's gimmicks, terrestrialization. When I first heard about this, I thought, really? That's what we're going with? But actually using terrestrialization in battle, it kinda changes the game a lot. This gimmick is way more enjoyable than Gigantamaxing. For those of you who don't know, every Pokemon has a terrestrialization type. It's all 18 known Pokemon types. And what does it do? Whenever you terrestrialize your Pokemon, you change into that type. So for example, you'll have a Pokemon that's a normal and flying type, and your terrestrialization is a ghost type. Once you throw that terrestrialization ball, you transform into a ghost type completely. It makes you rethink the strategy of how you're going to change the moveset for some Pokemons if you want to prioritize boosting your attack or changing your Pokemon typing more, and it makes competitive Pokemon so much more fun. I welcome this gimmick, and if it's alongside Mega Evolution, do you know how fun this is gonna get? How crazy it's gonna be? Only downside is you only have one terrestrialization, and if your Pokemon dies, say bye-bye to that terrestrialization. But before we go into the next 3 segments, I got a question for you. Did you like the curry making mini? No, of course you do! It's the same thing over and over again! Replacing the curry mini game is the sandwich mini game. And this one is far more useful than curry can ever be. For those of you who don't know, in Sword and Shield, you can make curry to make your Pokemon a lot more friendly towards you, which will give you a lot of bonuses like not dying in the middle of a one-shot move, allowing you to stay on 1 health point, making your attacks slightly more powerful and a higher chance of getting a critical hit, and I think that's pretty much it. While the sandwiches do that, there's also a lot more benefits to it. You can find different eggs, find more items, find more rare Pokemon, capture shinies more easily. While I didn't use the sandwich much in my main Let's Play, only making like 3 or 4 in total just to make my Pokemon a lot more friendlier towards me, while I was waiting to record for Season 2, I used the sandwich a lot more often to hunt for shiny Pokemon. And I say it's worth it because look at what I got! It is kind of janky, not gonna lie, and collecting Hub Mystica so you can get some shinies is annoying as hell. I only got 1 Hub Mystica after doing like a bunch of 5 and 6 star Terra raids, and my swirls, it's annoying, but it's so worth it when you get that shiny. Oh yeah, Terra raids! Replacing the Dynamax Den is the Terra raids, and oh my god, it's actually good? Now, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but Terra Raids, I think it's a huge step forward in the Pokemon gameplay. Compare this to Gigantamax Raids, where you go into a battle and everyone attacks the Gigantamax Pokemon one at a time, and then a shield comes up, and then you have to keep attacking one at a time, and then you have the chance for Gigantamax, but only one of you can Gigantamax your Pokemon one at a time, and it can only be that giant for 3 turns, and you better hope that you do the thing, because if you don't, you're probably going to lose, and bye-bye. Say goodbye to nearly falling asleep, and say hello to this awesome style with epic music made by Toby Fox. That dude is eating good these days. I mean, think about it. Sans and Smash Bros. Working on Pokemon games, dude's living the dream. Which, funny enough, is also what I would call this gameplay style. In Terra Raids, you attack a Terra-type Pokemon. This could be any Pokemon that's in the game. It could be, a Fuecoco, maybe? It could be, a Lechonk? It could be a Ghastly. But the gimmick with these Terra Dens is that these Pokemon will have Terra types that are not normally common throughout the region. Sure, you can find some Terra type Pokemon that has a 100% spawn rate, but will you be able to find a Terra type Pokemon that has a Water type Terra type and is a Fire type Pokemon, or a Ghost type Pokemon that has a Normal type Terra type? These Terra Raid Dens, I thought at first, they're fine, they're cool, I guess, but near the end of the game, I kid you not, I find myself hopping into these things a lot. You go in, you see all your Pokemon, you fight, everyone attacks at the same time. The Terra, but wait a second, what did I just say? Yeah, I'm not joking. There was no turns here aside from your own. Everyone attacks the Pokemon all at once, and it's surprisingly awesome. It also helps the fact that the Terra Raid Dens are actually challenging, especially with the higher and higher star rankings and the Terra Raid events. Now, it's easy to go into like a 1-star or 2-star den, beat the Pokemon, get out. That's pretty much easy. But near the end of the game with 4, 5, or even 6-star raids, it starts to get a lot more challenging, causing you to have to think more and strategize more. What moves work well? What Terra typing will you use? What Pokemon will be good for this opponent? Will you prioritize using stat type moves? Will you prioritize trying to take high damage? Will you prioritize being a beefy tank to use stat type moves? Will you try to one-shot that Pokemon before it kills you? Never in my life have I thought about this one going to a Gigantamax den. I just thought, oh, send in my level 100, done. Okay, I'll take my free, Garganical. In Terra Raid Dens, even if you have level 100 Pokemon, you are going to get your ass kicked. But let's say you're not interested in Terra Raid Dens, you just want to play through the main game. Welp, here we go! Now, I already briefly talked about the gyms, so we don't have to go over them since it's standard Pokemon Affair. You already know how the gyms go. But for the other 2 modes, the Path of Legends and Starfall Street, mama, it's like night and day, and one of them does not look good. Walking over to the daytime, we have Starfall Street. And, wow! Now, when the trailers first came out, I was really looking forward to this. Everyone just throwing their Pokemon at you, and you have to send out your Pokemon to stop a barrage of Pokemon attacking you? That sounds like a dream! What's the catch? What the hell is this? It's slow, clunky, missed opportunity, I feel like these were thrown in the last minute. And just when my disappointment was about to reach rock bottom, I swear it could not get any higher than Team Star Boss's rule. They're not really as much of a challenge as some of the gym leaders are, but these Team Star Bosses are also fun. Their gimmick is that they don't really use terrestrialization Pokemon. Instead, they use a giant car called a Starmobile. These are boss-exclusive Pokemon that you cannot catch. You can catch the normal version of these things, but as for a Fire-type one, or a Poison-type one, or a Fairy-type one, honey, unless I get terrestrialized into that, there was no way in hell you're to get these things. The first three, being Dark, Fire, and Poison, were pretty easy in my opinion, but the last two, Fighting and Fairy, actually gave me a challenge. In fact, the Fighting-type Team Star boss is actually what killed me. These are pretty fun challenges, but heavily weighed down by the stupid raid battles. Can you imagine Pokemon expand upon this a little bit more? Maybe shorten the time limit a bit, because 10 minutes is way too long. If it was like 5 minutes or 3 minutes, then I can feel the rush of trying to beat through this. Like, like an actual challenge, but no, it's not that. It's boring. And so is Fighting Titan Pokemon. Titan Pokemon are basically big, gigantic Pokemon that look like Yokai Watch Blast's bosses, which is why I'm going to tell you how they look instead. You look around for these bosses and then you find them in the middle of a city. You fight them until their health is 0 and then they try to run away. Afterwards, you go inside of a building or a special location and fight their Phase 2 forms, where it's a lot more intense. And that's basically the Titan Pokemons in a nutshell. But one thing that you should know is that you can actually catch these Titan Pokemon. After you beat them in battle and you eat your sandwich, you'll have the ability to go out and actually catch them in their normal size forms. And yes, they are the Titan Pokemon, not just them roaming around. Like, they will be static, standing like legendaries, and that is how you can get a Paradox Pokemon very early. You're welcome, everybody. One last thing to mention, you can also connect to the internet to collab with other people. You can have multiple people in your room, in your world. A total of 4 people can be in one union circle. And you can pretty much do anything in the game, except for doing stories at the same time and going inside Area 0 at the same time. Other than that, it's fair game. I tried this out a few times, one in a live stream, another one in one of my favorite episodes where I collabed with my friend before his Switch got destroyed. I really hope you get your Switch back soon, Bloody. But it's legitimately fun just goofing off with your friends, doing a couple of terror raids, going inside a picnic, just relaxing, having a good time, just vibing and doing awesome stuff. Now, again, it ain't perfect. It really depends on your Wi-Fi connection, and you need a Nintendo Online subscription to even go on the internet, but it's still pretty fun. The gameplay is both the best of Pokemon and the worst of Pokemon. And while there were a lot of glitches that were in the game, I tried doing one of them and I couldn't really pull it off. To give you an example, there's a glitch where you could just fall through the map and see the map of Area 0. I tried doing that off screen before I patched my game, and it just didn't happen no matter what I tried. I wasted a good 30 minutes on that. But don't get me wrong, there were a few glitches. There's a couple of frame rate glitches, there's a couple of collision glitches with the wild Pokemon. Sometimes they'll spawn in the walls, but that seems to happen more often in Area 0. And it's something I can't really overlook. In Legends Arceus, I kinda can overlook that since they're experimenting with this new style of Pokemon, this new way they implement Pokemon into the world, but even then, the pop-in wasn't this bad. In Legends Arceus, the Pokemon kind of faded in, which was still annoying, but it didn't really break my immersion that much to be like, they need to fix that instantly. But with Scarlet and Violet, there's so much pop-in. From environments to Pokemon to even some trainers. It's definitely a deal breaker for those who want to stay immersed in the game completely. But overall, I'm gonna give the gameplay, a B rank. What really saves the gameplay is the thought of what terror type do you want to attach to your Pokemon and the terror raid dens. But other than that, it's your standard Pokemon affair with just a few more fun stuff. Wait a second. The gyms. They have challenges too! They suck. My god, they suck. I don't want to talk about them. That's how bad they are. The only fun one to me was the one where you bid on food from one of the gym leaders. That one was legitimately fun. I love that one. But other than that, They gotta be the worst gym puzzles ever. Let's just move on. The content's up next. And thank God it's something that this game can be proud of. First off, you got the main game with 3 small stories before it wraps up into one big story. And that would take around 12-13 hours to beat if you know what you're doing. There's also a post game where you can capture some legendary Pokemon. What the hell? Yes! Yes! Okay, I'm going off script for a bit, but thank God they added these 4 legendary Pokemon. Do you know how many you get in Scarlet and Violet? I mean, Sword and Shield without the DLC? You get nothing! Nothing! And nothing! I mean, you do get the box art legendary, but that's it for secret Pokemon. That's it for post game content until you get the DLC. Thank you for adding these 4 legendaries and a bonus box art legendary to catch at the end of Area 0. Oh, also, after you beat the game, you get a free legendary. You don't have to throw a Master Ball or anything. You're welcome. Alright, back on script, okay. Alright, you have also 2 maps in total. The main game and Area 0. And finally, the most important one. You have a total of 400 Pokemon, 298 abilities, and 915 different moves. Holy swells, that's a lot more than I thought there was gonna be. And considering the amount of combination you could do with the Terra types, and add on 400 more Pokemon if you're looking for shiny, that aren't shiny locked, that is, you have yourself a pretty sizable game in what Sword and Shield should have been. I'm gonna give the content a beautiful A rank. There was not a moment in this game I feel like there needs to be more. I wish I could expand upon that, except for Operation Starfall Street. But other than that, this game feels about 80% complete. Only thing that holds it back a bit would have to be the graphics. But other than that, not bad, Pokemon, not bad. Finally, we have the theme that accompanies all video games. The music, the bops, the things you listen to as you contemplate the fact that the professor is actually dead. There was a child that's been abandoned. He had a daughter that's literally about to die. Oh my God, someone give Avery a hug. Now, the way they do music in this game when it comes to overworld and battling, aside from stuff like the gym leaders, the champions, the team star boss, when it comes to like the normal wild encounters, I like what they did. This is legitimately awesome. Okay, great, let me give you an example. Okay, you're walking in, let's say, Poco Path. And then all of a sudden, boom! Lechonk comes to fight you! And the best part about it, depending on where you're at, the battle theme is unique. Every now and then you have to fight a demon. Then after that you can go and get your gym badge. But if you pull out a few sticks, you might want to look out for these 4 legendaries. thing you know, you feel like you're in Undertale in these Terror Raid fights. But you know you gotta save the good boys, so you fight the Titans! And then you're taking down some Team Star bosses, listening to the best music in the game! As per usual, Pokemon absolutely knocks it out of the park when it comes to music, and even more with their experimental overworld themes. I was legitimately surprised when I was like battling like a bunch of wild Pokemon, and then a new theme came and be like, wait, this is different, what's going on? I pray that they do this again to a bunch of locations, but I just wish that Koraidon and Miraidon had their own official battle theme, because they share the same battle theme as the Paradox Pokemon because they're in Area 0. But other than that, I'm gonna give this music a motherfucking S rank. You know that's gonna get an S rank, boy. I mean, you listen to this Team Star theme and tell me not to give it an S rank. I dare you. You know, I realized I hit out a lot of B rings for my games, but to be honest, this one was a tough one to review. On one hand, Pokemon is stepping forward, adding in new ideas, bringing in new concepts, and finally giving us the story that we've been waiting for years, and giving us the region that we've been asking for that feels like the anime. But on the other hand, it's held back by a ton of glitches, bad graphics, and a Pokédex that should have every single Pokemon coded into the game. But I gotta say, this is a major step up from Sword and Shield, but it's also a major step down from Sword and Shield as well. While we have a considerable amount of content for us to enjoy, at least until the DLC comes out, there's still some stuff that just doesn't feel finished. A couple of animations, a couple of Pokemon, and most importantly of all, the freaking graphics! But even then, I enjoyed my time here more than I did with Sword and Shield, which is why I'm giving it a B rank. I desperately wanted to give this game an A rank, I really did, but the thing that holds it back the most has to be the graphics. Oh well, at least we got a good Pokemon game, but I just wish they added more. Now, I'm not saying to overbloat this game with too much content. What I'm trying to say is bring back the Game Freak that put effort into the Pokemon games. 3D is clearly not the way to go with Pokemon when it comes to the models and 3D trends and stuff, but the environments could really benefit this. What I'm trying to say is take a page from Octopath Traveler, have 2D sprites but 3D environments. That game is absolutely breathtaking, and if Pokemon does the same thing, we might be looking at a legendary Pokemon game here. But most likely, they're gonna stick to this 3D format and... Listen, Game Freak, Pokemon, I get it. You're the most profitable company of all time. The amount of HAL you have in your bank account is honestly overwhelming Disney. But at the same time, put some effort into this. People wouldn't be so harsh on your company if it wasn't for the fact that you make more money than an average Joe. Fix up the graphics, fix up the glitches, maybe not do Pokemon every few years instead of wait a little bit longer and release it when the product is the quality of Super Mario Odyssey. That is my advice to you, Pokemon. I'm Mr. Cat, and this has been a review of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Do you agree with my opinion and think the ranking is fair, or do you think this review is so bad it's laughably enjoyable? Either way, I'm glad you came by to watch my review. Let's hope the DLC adds more to this game, because if it does, the game ranking might go up a bit. Who knows? Only time will tell. Peace out, members of Team Shadow. Please never stay catty. Live life your own way. Stay safe through these trying times. I'll see you all in the castle. Until next time, adieu, everybody.